Good afternoon. I'm calling this meeting of Land Use and Planning Committee to order. Proper notification has been sent by the clerk's office for notice of this meeting. Please join me in rising for a moment of silent prayer and our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we'll start off with our previous minutes. Any questions or comments or corrections that need to be done? No need for a motion. We will go ahead and set them. But you can make, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have 3 SIP payments. We'll just group them together. I'll call for a motion for the 3. Motion by Supervisor Krebs, seconded by Supervisor Mary. Any discussion on these? Hearing none, I will accept them as we'll go ahead and vote on that. All signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And we will have the UW Extension Quarterly Report. I imagine it will be you, Ms. Ludwig, or who's coming up?
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon. Ron Jacob Eisen, 4-H educator. And so my quarterly report, really 4-H is closing out its year in June. And so I want to do some highlights real quickly for a few minutes. Number one, we ended the year with 607 youth enrolled. That's up 6.9% from last year. We had 219 volunteers. That's down a handful. But we maintained 16 county clubs with 20 countywide projects that met monthly, either at the PAC or out at the fairgrounds. Our retention rate from last year with our membership was 81%. Just kind of give it, yes. Just to give it a perspective. Repeat the number of 4-H members. We had 601 youth, 219 volunteers. Thank you. The retention rate from last year was 81%. Just to put that in perspective, the state average is 80%, and the surrounding counties, there's one with 75%, and there's one with 84%. And we don't want to put too much into the numbers. We have to dig deeper as to what retention rate really means, because a lot of things could go into it. Who's graduating out? Maybe little kids, weren't that interested, little first, second graders. But the top projects in Washington County were archery with 198. Again, that's out of 607 youth. Art, 117. Photography, 84. Air rifle and poultry were tied at 79. I don't think there was a relationship between the two. Hopefully not. But as a note, on a serious note, our 4-H student, Holly Elsinger, was actually picked to be part of the Wisconsin State shooting team and went to nationals, and she actually placed 4th in air pistol in the nation. So congratulations to her. We're really proud of her. The biggest probably event highlight for this last quarter is 4-H Summer Camp, a great tradition, June 13th through the 16th. We had a total of 104 in attendance. That was up 29% from last year. So we had 20 teen volunteers who serve as cabin leaders and resource leaders in learning opportunities with water ecology, canoeing, archery, crafts, team challenge course, swimming and waterfront activities, and camp in general is for 3rd through 8th grade. So our high school leaders Well, our leaders are high school and then adults. So this is a year-long process. Camp starts in the fall with youth who apply and they interview and get chosen. There's about 8 hours of training that they go through on facilitation skills, emergency preparedness, how to talk to like little third graders about what happens when they don't get a second cookie at dinner, all the way up to homesickness. And so it was a great camp. And moving on, we do have a summer intern who has been really busy already, even though summer feels like it's only partway over. We're involved with Camp Superhero, which is part of the Volunteer Center of Washington County. We actually do the training for the teen leaders using our 4-H leadership curriculum and lessons. Myself and Kelly, the other positive youth development educator, had completed those trainings with those teen staff. And then our intern and Kelly also did a taste of 4-H at week 1 of Camp Superhero to introduce them to 4-H and then do some 4-H activities. Next week, there'll be another separate week, and I'll go over with Kelly and do that. Germantown has a Safety Town program that we do all the time, every year, and they do a little farm safety presentation, forget this, with 4 to 6 year olds. And we have 4-H volunteers go over and do a little presentation on farm safety with them. Wisconsin Dairy Promotion Committee provides ice cream. Our intern also had done 3 out of 5 presentations. She has 2 more to do at Slinger Library with some STEM lessons on that are lesson-based, but they're making ice cream, something called oblique, and then paper rockets. Oblique is that stuff that if you press it turns a liquid, and if you let it go, it turns solid. If you have grandkids, you know what it is. Casa Guadalupe, we have 1 out of 2 presentations that are STEM related. This one we did was marshmallow catapults, talking about trajectory, angles, speed. Jackson Boys and Girls Club, 2 of 2 presentations, ice cream, and then the second one was poultry, introducing them to chickens and to ducks. You will see 4-H down at the farmers market. With clubs doing stands, and then you'll also see our intern promoting 4-H. So you'll see our little flags flapping and our people there. 4-H involvement in fair is coming up. Fair is fair, and 4-H is 4-H, but 4-H is super thrilled to be part of fair. Of the 6,211 exhibits that happen at fair, 4,020 are 4-H exhibits, or 4-H kids who've exhibited. Remember, we only have 607 kids, but there's 4,000 exhibits. So you can do the math if you want to do the average on that. 4-H youth and volunteers volunteer hundreds of hours at the fair, including planting flowers months before fair, laying mulch, tossing hay in stalls. Fair park, they do building sitting, barn sitting, youth judge assistance, as well as the food stand, and assisting with setup and takedown in the Ziegler building before and after the fair. So in August and September, much like school, enrollment begins September 1 for 4-H. That means clubs turn in an annual financial report for the previous year. They turn that into me, and that's something that I review with them. But youth enroll September 1st. Volunteers enroll. Youth pick their projects of interest that they would like to be a part of. And then there will be an all-club leaders meeting on August 21st. All the leaders will come together, talk about their past year, what they need for the next year. We have open house September 17th, which is an open membership drive that happens out at Fair Park, and we promote that with the schools and the libraries. And then youth officer training is October 16th, where all clubs, those 16 clubs, have a full line of club officers, and all those youth learn the Roberts Rules, and they learn about their own individual officer role. So I did that all in one breath, so I think I met my goal here. If there's any questions or comments or concerns, we'll also be part of your 25th anniversary celebration, right, with bringing some 4-H youth out to Fair Park for leading the pledge, And we have a student who will sing at the end of that 25th celebration as well.
Outstanding.
Ron has been working with us and coordinating, getting 4-H members to come and lead the Pledge of Allegiance as well as the 4-H pledge. And then what grade she's in, she's going to lead the group in singing God Bless America at the end.
Yeah, I think Isabella is, I think she's either a junior or senior, but she,
Younger sister, Lee.
or younger, one of them is doing the pledge, one of them singing. So there you go.
Doing the pledge.
But one of them sang at the State Fair last year. So there you go.
Question for you, Ron. In terms of the overall general population of youths in Washington County, we keep seeing reports about schools talking about enrollment declines, population declines, and so on. Have 4-H numbers stayed pretty much on an even percentage of the overall youthful population, or has the 4-H involvement been higher or lower? I mean, is 4-H involvement sliding with the general population, or is it maintaining itself?
Well, it increased last year, I think, by 5%, and then this year it's at 6.9%. Looking at the enrollment numbers, right? So that's where that kind of lays out. We could dig deeper into the numbers, and we could do that some other time. But real quickly, I know that 12.7% have identified, the members have identified living on a farm. Others have not. So we can kind of look at some of those pockets. But there's clubs through the county. We know that there's been some clubs in the last 5 to 7 years that there's been a couple that have shut down. There's a couple that have actually combined. But the numbers are slowly creeping up. Camp numbers are increasing. So we'll add another project this year. We have an adult who wants to do a minerals project. So it seems like it's steady for sure with a little bit of increase here and there.
You mentioned barn sitting. Brings back memories when I was a kid in 4-H. One of my responsibilities one year was to be a barn sitter for the poultry and the rabbit barn, which was real good until about 8 o'clock Friday night when some local kids came in and started opening up the cages.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So we got everybody back in order.
I think those days are over, hopefully.
One rooster went over the fence in another schoolyard.
Well, very good. If there's any other questions,
Well, I definitely would like to give a shout out to my Wayne Crusaders. I have peeps.
Yeah, very good.
And I'm really looking forward to the fair this year. I always take the week off to go to the fair, and now I have special reason to. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I absolutely am looking forward to seeing all the exhibits, especially the hogs. That's where my people are. So we're looking forward to that. Any other questions of the board for the 4-H?
very good. Well, I'll see you at the fair.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Okay, next up is the Land Resources Quarterly Report. Jamie, who's presenting?
I am. I will answer any questions you have on this report. I will add that you see the initiative about kind of the transition, and because of the timing of putting these initiatives together and the timing of the county board strategic priorities, we are shaking this up a little bit. We're talking about some additional water health, land and rural community grant programs, things that don't show up here. So this fall, probably September, October, we'll be talking more comprehensively about the focus of the Natural Resources Department and some of those initiatives of the county board coming from that water health initiative topic. So I'll answer any questions you have here today.
All right, are there any questions on this topic? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. One moment. Okay. We'll start with the Silver Lining Amphitheater discussion. Couple of guests here tonight that I'd like to recognize. First, Mr. Joseph Balistrieri, Eagles Entertainment is here, and thank you, sir. I'm a big fan of your work. And also Supervisor McCulick, who met with Mr. Balistrieri, I believe last year as part of the land use and planning. I'm very pleased to have him here to give some of his knowledge and his thoughts. But I will start with Ms. Ludwig, do you want to start off?
Sure, I can very briefly. There was a report in your packet kind of summarizing the background. And so what we wanted to do was provide this committee, which is new, with the background of these conversations that have been happening for a while. As you can see, the stage was actually built 2015, so we're going on almost 10 years ago, based on the material in your packet. The intention of that at the time, and then the subsequent steps that have led us to kind of the current stage. And we're kind of wanted to provide the background, give the committee an opportunity to share any thoughts that they had with us, knowing that the county executive and a small contingency, including Supervisor McCulloch, that Supervisor Kelling has asked to maintain some consistency across the committees, to attend to that, to talk to Mr. Balistreri a little bit more just about, moving forward, what's in the best interest of this stage to really try to get utilization of it or how we might do that. So that is scheduled for next week. And with that, I'd be happy to hear any comments that anybody has about the topic kind of going, knowing that meeting is ahead of us.
So I guess I would start with Supervisor McCulloch, if you want to step forward, please. First, let me thank you again for showing up and sharing your knowledge with us. I know you're done with your meeting and you're ready to probably go home. But again, reiterating what James said earlier, we're all relatively new on this committee, though not new to the board. And this is such an important item to this committee, to our community, that I wanted to make sure that we had somebody who had some strong leadership, who has been involved, and certainly just tells it like it is. So I'm very pleased to have you here today. If you can just give us a little bit of background or what you like for us to know.
Thank you, Chair. Well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. And Joe Balistreri is here. I had an opportunity to meet Joe last year, and of course, very impressed with him. Joe is a legend in this industry. The Raven Eagles Club is an iconic place, and he has a terrific reputation as a promoter. And so, the issues with regard to the Silver Lining Amphitheater and promotions there, what I learned was, there's a couple of different facets from this. So first of all, we have a facility which is it's a nice stage. It's not really an amphitheater or a facility. It's a stage in the middle of a field, and in order to make it into something that's intimate, maybe something along the lines of what you see at Summerfest with the BMO Harris or something like that, it would take some money and it would take some infrastructure. There's obviously no dressing rooms there. There's no bathrooms there. There's no real definition to the area. And so, that's a challenge. And so you're trying to try to figure out what shape peg fits into the facility that we have. And so right now what we have are sort of the bones of a nice facility, but we don't really have a complete facility. And the cost to do that, to put in seating or to put in coverage, and Joe can get into these things. I'm not going to elaborate too much. There'd be a substantial cost of that, and I don't know that we really want to subject the Washington County taxpayers to that, because the other side of this thing is when you look at something, I like to call it load factor, right? And the load factor is what's the utilization rate? What's the utilization rate of something like this? We have our county fair. You might have some other events, but let's face it, even though it's a forward-facing asset that the county has, a good utilization rate for this thing might be 3% or 4%. Think about that, right? How many days in a year and how many days is it actually used? So how much money do you want to put into it? So there's a lot of things you're trying to balance out. And, so we have our facility question. How do you make it into something? Because, again, right now you have a stage. but we really don't have a venue, and so there's that part of it that we're trying to put together. And Mr. Balistreri is in a very competitive business. He has competitors out there that are also seeking acts. Live Nation being the big one. They're being sued right now, and they're able to offer acts a number of dates and money up front and things like that. It's a very competitive business. So, maybe people wish that there was more that happened. I wish that there's more things that were going on at the Silver Lining Amphitheater. It's a very forward-facing asset. You see it right from the freeway, right? But the fact of the matter is that's a lot tougher road to hoe than we all know. And it's not easy to try to get the right type of act in there. You put 100 or 200 people there and the place just looks empty, right? But it's hard to get more people in there outside of the fair. You'd have to have the right draws. And so Joe can speak to that part of it. And so, sometimes you run into a circumstance where, what we have is this is just a very tough industry. And it's very challenging for him. And then we have a facility that's not exactly, it's a nice facility. It's just not really something. I mean, there's all kinds of visions you could have for it, that I've thought of that could be lower cost ways to maybe make it more defined and intimate and into something. But that's a challenge too. So you have to have a vision for that. And then the other competitors that are in that are in this field. So places like, Frank Productions, some of these other production companies, they've proposed places, and we've all heard these things, right? They were going to put one in downtown Milwaukee in the Potawatomis, and you'll notice there's always these plans, but, like developers, when the rubber hits the road, the money isn't there and they never happen. None of these things have happened, and it's happened, and that's for a reason. It's because they're looking at the number of events they can put into it and the revenue you can generate out of it, and no bank is going to give them any money because they can't make it work, right? So, so that part of it's challenged. So that's why, you've never seen anything with any of these other new venues coming up. So, I give the county a lot of credit. One of the nice things is when I've been on the Washington County Board for 3 years, and you really see, and I know we have our pillars, right? That we refer to when we're making decisions. In business, I was part, of an entity where we use Six Sigma, and Six Sigma is great because you're always looking at what you're doing, and you're saying, why am I doing what I'm doing, or what am I doing with this? And you're constantly looking, and that's a great thing. And on my time on the board, we've done a lot of things, right? We've made a lot of changes, and we've made some hard decisions, Samaritan and things like that. The amphitheater is a really different animal. It's really different because you'd like to do something with it, and you look at it and think there's more that can be done. But boy, that's really hard. And Joe's business is very difficult too. We have a lot of, I think it has a lot of upside because it has good freeway access. We have a safe area. There's some good bones. There's some nice, infrastructure there, but it's not appealing to a lot of people that are in, the entertainment industry. And again, I'm going to let Joe speak to that. And all I can say is, this is one of those, those things where a lot of smart people. I think Jamie's very sharp. Josh. You look at everybody here, and Joe. And Joe's been in this industry for a long time. And you look at it, and you're still kind of shrugging your shoulders, just like those other entities that are proposing these other facilities, and you just, you can't quite make it go because of the environment and the numbers. So it's not a clear cut. There are, in my opinion, there's no clear cut answers to this thing right now. And there's been a lot of turmoil in this industry. But I can tell you that when I met, Joe, he's clearly a very sharp guy. He's a great businessman. He has a terrific reputation. It's, the things that haven't happened aren't because he's not a good partner and he's not trying. It's because he's in a really difficult industry with a big player that's really squeezing people out. Even him at his own venue, the Raven Eagles Club, which is, like I said, and if you're all familiar, just, 3 different venues there, and it's an iconic place. And he's, he even has his challenges there. So, for whatever any of that is worth that I just said, that's sort of my overview of this. And, that's what I learned last year, and maybe you're going to learn as we move forward. So I guess that's all I can tell you at this point. That's my, point. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to share.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Supervisor McCulick. I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, it is really a huge help. I think that consistency, just by your speech, is well warranted.
Yeah.
So I'll look forward to meeting with you and working on that as we keep moving forward.
Yeah, whatever value I can be in this, I'm happy to do that. So, yeah, absolutely, Supervisor Kelling. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Balistreri, would you like to come up? First of all, I'd like to say, Mr. Balistreri, I actually worked in security for your club back in the early 80s. When was that? Early 90s, excuse me. I'm dating myself. Great place, great people, and such iconic acts and stuff that you've had through there. I just really admire your work.
Thank you.
So I guess this is kind of a free forum for you to kind of just educate us. We're all new on this committee now, so we're kind of stepping into this, with not a lot of knowledge other than Mr. Supervisor Mary. He's, been around, but the rest of us are newer to this. So we'd really like to hear your thoughts and just anything you want to let us know. Thank you.
Sure. As I understand, we're really going to talk about the marketplace first. Is that correct, Jamie? And then maybe more specifics off camera in the office on Monday. But I mean, the overall, Milwaukee is Milwaukee. I've been doing entertainment here since '68, so a long time. I opened my first entertainment club in Milwaukee in '70. Done about 20,000 shows, and I would say it's the most difficult and most expensive now than it's ever been. And the reason is obviously Live Nation, which is why the federal government is suing them to be broken up, because they have the ability in the entertainment business in general, by tying up acts for 30 or 40 dates a year, they're able to pay these acts over what they're worth for certain marketplaces by amortizing all the money from the tours over 40 shows, as opposed to just looking at Milwaukee. And then they're able to scalp tickets because of Ticketmaster, and they have lots of sponsorship money. And so their model on a big national basis is not much different than Summerfest, which has obviously been here since whatever it is, 72, don't remember. Actually, I played at the first two Summerfest in a band. The Summerfest model is you lose money as a promoter, you have cheap tickets, but you have 10, 50, and sometimes even $18 million with sponsorship money. And then you basically spend all your sponsorship money down to end up with $2 or $3 million at the end of the year in actual cash flow for the next year. Now, the marketplace today, coming out of COVID, obviously COVID stopped everything, and it just changed the whole industry. So when we made this agreement before COVID, it was one world, or during COVID, right? It discussed before and happened during. Now we're after COVID, and it's a whole different world. 22 people got about a half a year's worth of business in, because business didn't really start till about July 1st of 22. 23 was a banner year for most everybody in the business. Live Nation on down. Our company had the best year we ever had. And in 23, it was just a spectacular year. Pent-up demand, all the things you read about in the business channel. Government money still in the system, so people had extra money. And now we're in 24, and 24 is being extremely difficult for everybody. And the future looks pretty tricky. You've got the federal government trying to break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster, which they're bound and determined to do from people that we're talking with. And I think that it would be very good for the overall business for the future, your project here, anything that would go on, because it would level the playing field. In other words, businesses like ours are totally capable of competing against another business like ours. But you can't compete against the government. And Ticketmaster operates somewhat like the government. Well, they'll lose what, the money's not real to them. They just throw the money out to get the act in order to make all the money off the ancillary revenues. So it's just not a one-on-one type of fair fight, which is why the government is going after them. And I think there's high-profile, pretty persistent attack on them. And this is also the state of Wisconsin signed on to the lawsuit. So this is also antitrust state of Wisconsin cases also going on. So you have those two things happening. The Frank Productions, which is our direct competitor, is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Live Nation. So there is no Frank Productions per se. It's actually Live Nation. And so every place that we turn, we're competing against Live Nation. So if you look at the let's look at Wisconsin marketplace. And this is the Live Nation takeover coming down to your situation here in Washington County. So Live Nation started off buying Alpine Valley back in whatever it was, 80, 90, 2000, well, it might have been 95 or 96. A precursor division to Live Nation got the lease at Alpine. I built Alpine. So I ran it for 14 years. It was the number one thing in the country during those 14 years. But like everything, that business kind of stopped. But at the same time, our annuity, the Grateful Dead, went off touring. And so, you look at the next year and you say, I lost my annuity, now what do I do? And the big acts were in touring, and it just was time to switch. And that's when I switched to the rave, 91, because that's when the House of Blues started, and the club business was just becoming the thing at that point. And it really didn't exist before that. And so they bought Alpine Valley, and first they leased it in whatever, I'll pick a date, 95. It could have been there sooner or later, 95. And then eventually they purchased the property, $8.6 million. And it happened to be that we only invested $9 million in Alpine, because again, this was old dollars in the whole construction budget. So basically they paid market value for the property back at that time period, and then shelved the project. Next thing they did is they went to Madison and bought out the whole Frank's operation in Madison. And they went and I'll go fast through this because it's pretty complicated, but they went and took over all the promoters in Madison, the Alliant Energy Center, and Breeze Field, which is the baseball stadium in Madison. So they basically, Live Nation now has 95% of the business in Madison. Then they came to Milwaukee, and Ticketmaster was already the ticketing company at Summerfest. And they came into Milwaukee after COVID and made an exclusive ticketing deal with Summerfest, where a promoting deal along with the ticketing deal. So no local promoter like us, a third-party promoter like AEG or Gary Witt at the Pabst Theater Group can go and rent the stages at Summerfest. It is wholly controlled 100% by Live Nation. And probably illegally, again, which is why the government went after them, is going after them. So the last step in controlling the entertainment business continually in the state of Wisconsin completely is to open up a 4,000 to 5,000 person place along with the Bucks, where again, Ticketmaster is the Bucks ticketing company. So they already have control of the ticketing company. They already have control of the acts that go into the Fiserv, because they have the national contract with those bands for 40 or 50 dates around the country. And so they, in essence, control the Fiserv, although they don't have a contract to control it. Now, once they do the 4,500 person place, the goal is basically bankrupt us and everybody in the smaller concert business in the state. Now, the government's after them. The state of Wisconsin's after them. We're going to do everything we can to fight it. But that's the overall business, and that is the Live Nation Frank's venue that Ken alluded to, that they're talking about at the Fiserv. The original construction cost is $60 million. By the time they're done with what they're doing, it's probably going to end up $70, $75 million. I mean, right now, doing anything, I'm doing a little air conditioning project at the Eagles Club, and I'm so sorry I ever did it, because it's 100% retrofit, and it's like I'm blowing my brains out is the easiest way to put it. And I'm literally over budget by 45, 50%, only because you never know what you're going to get into with an old building until you get into it. So I can't imagine how the cost of what they're going to do, although new construction's easier, is going to come. They're saying 60 million. I can't imagine 70, 75 million. And again, how do you ever make that money back in Milwaukee? I don't absolutely see how they could ever do it. But they say they're going ahead with it. End of the day, do they have a bank loan? Do they have the money? Where are they? I have no idea. Potawatomi, on the other hand, has that one extra advantage that none of us have, which is gambling money. I mean, $200 a person average that goes in the Potawatomi casino lose $100 of the $200 on average they spend on gambling. Now that's from the Milwaukee Journal statistics. $950 million of gambling, net take to the tribe $450 million. And then the tribe's got their expenses, so that's not net money to them. So Potawatomi is in the best position to do something. And I'm going to suspect that they are bound and determined because they are like us, where they have competition all over the place. Downtown Chicago, thing in Kenosha. They're opening more places in the west side of the state. So I think in the long term, they'll be the most likely to do something. That'll be an indoor building. That will be a beautiful, because everything they do is really, they spend the money, it's beautiful. And so what that's going to mean to everybody, I have no idea. Not quite our business, because we're more in the 1,000 to 2,000 person kids business, which they absolutely are not interested in kids. They don't gamble. And, you got to be over 21. And then second of all, we tend to deal with, at the Eagles Club, we tend to deal with more what Milwaukee is. We're the Latin promoter, we're a hip-hop promoter, we're a rock promoter, we're adult rock promoter. And if Potawatomi builds and Live Nation is broken up by the government, I think we'll have a fine business because we can exist with Potawatomi. Hard to exist with Live Nation operating the way they're operating because it's just a complete old-school monopoly, top to bottom, control everything in every aspect of the entertainers' careers. So now you have Washington County, and a lot of it has to do with what you view county government's role is in bringing business to the county. And is it the right decision? And I'm not advocating, I'm just talking, advocating anything. Is it the right decision to spend $20 million? I'm picking a number out of the sky, but it's a realistic number. $20 million, and let's say 10 to 20, to update what's going on at the Silver Lining Amphitheater with the understanding that maybe at the end of the day there's not enough money coming in to cover the bond issue or whatever it would take to do that in order to get enough traffic and business to all the Washington County businesses, because it will definitely increase business in Washington County for the hotels, or it'll maybe increase hotel business. You might even get hotels. It would certainly boom the restaurant business, getting people into downtown West Bend. And on concert days, I would assume West Bend would just be ridiculous, like Lake Geneva is every Alpine show. I mean, every Alpine show at Lake Geneva in the 80s, the hotels were booking, you had to have a 3-day stay, no matter how long you stayed. And it ridiculous, it was like $400 a night per room back in the 80s. So I can't even guess what that would be right now because the rooms are at such a premium. And when we stopped doing that in 91, by 95, 96, every hotel in Lake Geneva went bankrupt. The Grand Geneva got sold to Marcus. And if you go back and look through the records, everybody went bankrupt because they lost all that giant summer business. So Walby County back then made the determination that wasn't in their best interest. It was just too big, too much, too everything. And as a result, they ended up with nothing for a long time, which caused everybody to go out of business. Now it's built back up to be a different business, and which is, I haven't been down in a long time, but I assume just fine for them. And all things are good and all the things are flourishing, I believe, because Chicago's moving north, so they're getting the Chicago business. For Washington County, I mean, realistically, you're at a static marketplace, which Milwaukee's, the whole metro, is literally not growing, or if it's growing, it's 1%. And it's becoming more ethnic, basically, which for our business is great because that's the business that we're in. Whether for Washington County over time that's good or not, it's your judgment. I think there's a big Latin business that's not being serviced and is getting bigger and bigger every day. We're the largest Latin promoter in Wisconsin. It's a big part of our business. I have to have Spanish-speaking employees, and we have a Latin website, leagles.com, and we're way into the business. I mean, so that's available. But overall, you have a static marketplace with competition from the left and from the right. You have a marketplace from a facility standpoint that is missing a 10,000-person outdoor music facility, and there is a need for it. In other words, it's bigger than what they service at Summerfest, but it's smaller than the Fiserv and the American Family Amphitheater, I guess they call it now, and County Stadium. So it's smaller than the big ones. And these types of facilities flourish all around the country because there is a need for that size facility, which is perfect for the space you have there. You can park the cars. You need no extra space for parking. You have access in and off of the expressway. And if you have 10,000 people at an event, you probably have 3,000 cars, 3,200 cars, which you can service easily. And there is a need for that in the marketplace. There's also a need in the marketplace because Summerfest has totally boxed themselves in a corner. They've spent $300 million on permanent facilities. That means they can't do anything flexible. In other words, something like that country festival this week, Country Thunder, could never play Summerfest because it's, first of all, it'd be too expensive. And then second of all, from an operation standpoint. And second of all, because everything's fixed and to get the crowd to move around correctly for that, the promoter at the end of the day would not make a nickel, so he would never do it. So he goes out and got his land out there that he probably purchased. I don't know that much about it. Put up all temporary facilities, did his big festival, and he's very successful at it here and other places in the country. And Milwaukee does not have that, and Milwaukee does not have a 10,000-person outdoor Ravinia-type festival, for want of a better, or like the facility in downtown Chicago, I don't know what they call it now, but the ones where Meigs Field used to be downtown Chicago, next to the Pritzker Pavilion down there and everything that they did. There is a need for that in Milwaukee. And Summerfest can't do it because they're landlocked, they're boxed in, and they have to tear things down. Their 5,000-person place is flat, so once you get to 6,000 people, 6,200 people, the last 200 people can't see a thing. You're looking at the show on the screens. They can't change what it is, and they're boxed in. So from Washington County's perspective, if I take a 10-year horizon, there is an opportunity for that. It does take an investment, and I cannot sit and tell you that you're going to get a return on your investment. You may lose money on your investment every year. I can tell you would have very happy businesses in West Bend and around, up and down. I mean, your Culvers would be ridiculously busy on certain days coming off the expressway. That would be positive. And it would focus the name, Washington County name, Silver Lining Amphitheater, as the case may be. You would just get millions of dollars worth of extra advertising. I mean, not different than the RNC. The RNC for Milwaukee businesses has turned out to be a giant loser. I mean, for the DNC, I had 4 big events at the Eagles Club. I have none for the RNC. And it's not just us. It's every other small local business like us. Everybody's aced out. It was just the big boys getting the money for the big boys. And maybe that was smart. Maybe it was because of security. I don't know. But it's a situation where the RNC has great publicity nationally for the city of Milwaukee. So maybe they can justify that that's a great thing for the city. But from a local business opportunity standpoint, it's been terrible. And so some people inside the zone did okay. If you're outside the zone, not only do you not get your normal business, but I go to a place for lunch every day and have for like about 10 years, order my lunch. I called up on Tuesday and they said, nobody in the restaurant and you're the only customer that's ordered lunch. And it's one of the most popular places in downtown. And so that is a case where Milwaukee decided they would spend, or the RNC, $85 million, I think is what they spent. They raised for the thing, if I recall. It's in the paper, whatever the number is. And they determined that it was worth doing that for the publicity for the city of Milwaukee. And I think that it's their, it's up to them. Is it a good idea? Was it a good decision or not a good decision? Not for me to say. I know that people like us got aced out. If you did music at Washington County and if you thought that that was the right thing, I would say your local businesses would not only not get aced out, they would thrive, and you'd probably have some more local businesses. So in the big picture, it's just a question of what is the function of government in Washington County, and you think it's worth an investment in the grounds to try and get extra business here, people to understand where it is. And it's, even though you're a suburb of Milwaukee, in my mind, I live in Mequon. I mean, to me, you're not any different than you're Mequon West, so to speak. To people from outside the city, you're not in the city. When I've tried to bring the facility to people's attention, and you're just not in the city, you're a suburb. And at one time that was a negative, maybe not so much a negative anymore, just because, again, the change of the whole social climate out there where being in the city is not as great as it used to be as a business owner. I'll leave it at that. But it is way better than it was 20 years ago, so I'm not complaining. But I think that's where we are with the project. And I don't want to be the guy to tell you what to do. I can just give you my honest opinion on why, if people would ask me, should we do this and this, what's going to happen? I can give you my opinion, an educated opinion on what I think will happen in my specific little industry part of the picture. And so that's kind of how I see the whole thing. Opportunity is still there, might even be better than it was before. It is a terrible year for outside concerts this year. I mean, last weekend, Summerfest got whacked. That's obviously in the paper. My friend does the biggest country festival in Chicago. He lost Saturday and Sunday last week. Probably lost money on the festival for the first time in the last 10 years. The show at Alpine last Saturday got postponed and canceled. I can't remember what happened. I was in Chicago looking at with the Brothers Osborne in downtown Chicago at the Salt Shed 3 weeks ago on Saturday. And driving back was when that tornado was coming, and the show was at Summerfest that got hit. Motley Crue, I think it was, got held over and maybe played. I think Dave Matthews at Alpine, I don't know whether it played or not. I know that the Tequila and Tacos Festival at the baseball park in Franklin got canceled completely. And customers are like out of their mind because they didn't get refunds, and they're not giving refunds. And it was so that was 3 weeks ago. That was a terrible Saturday night. So, I mean, this is like not been a good summer for outdoor concerts. Some people say it's because of climate change. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know, but it's definitely hotter, and it's definitely rainier, and it's definitely, the rain hit on the weekends. And so it's been a very bad year for business, as Summerfest complained in the paper. But that season, that varies year by year. And so you just don't know where that is. But I do believe that our industry, a lot's going to be determined by what the federal government does with Live Nation. If they break them up, it is going to be an even playing field for everybody, which will make an opportunity for proposing for Washington County, what's been talked about, greater opportunity to prosper. because these acts can't be tied down, locked in at unfair prices, so it becomes open competition. And on open competition, then it's just having a pretty, kind of like we've done at the Rave. At the Rave, I just keep trying to make it unique, interesting, customer-friendly, give the customer what they want, the right price, have a place that they want to go to so that it's an experience, it's not just a concert. And so I think that that's the Rave's edge, which is why we still have been doing well and actually keep doing better and better, although for 24, it's been okay up till now, but I don't see the last half of 24 being so good. But I think if Washington County can create a more like Ravinia, unique experience that is pretty, take those two ponds and make those two ponds real ponds instead of retention ponds, and some pretty walkways around it, and just maybe make that the feature of the place. I mean, there's all, when you dream, there's all kinds of things you can dream when you don't have to spend the money. And then it comes back down to reality, which is what Ken said.
Thank you, Joe. I just want to make sure the committee has time to ask questions of Mr.
Okay, stop
Balistrieri,
right
Yes.
if he has any. And then also note that, again, what we're looking for is if any of our board member or Land Use and Planning Committee members have comments going into kind of our discussion about what to do going forward with the county's current contract and how we're going to be discussing that. So,
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. The chair recognizes Carol Mary, Supervisor Carol Mary.
also, reminder to please stay on the agenda topic, which is the Silver Lining Amphitheater discussion.
Right. Thank you, Joe. We had a discussion, there was a group of us went down visiting the facilities last spring now. Maybe
Right.
winter. You mentioned then that you got something like the Potawatomi that's great for indoor for them, but they may need some kind of an outdoor facility. Is there a relationship there that could perhaps happen? But you also made the comment that the current facility that we have, the amphitheater, for the layperson, it looks fabulous. But you get up onto it on a stage for a professional group to come in, it's not structured to hang the sound systems and the lighting. I believe you said that it's not load bearing enough to pick up the weight of what a bigger group would want to have in terms of light, sound, pyrotechnics, and so on. And so that in itself, to try to get into that level of entertainment, is going to require what? A rebuilding of that entire structure, or a major modification?
It's a rebuild.
The green rooms, the washrooms,
Right.
and everything else.
I think it's a rebuild. In other words, if you look at what Potawatomi did for their little outdoor summer stage, that's called the SAM 450 stage. And I looked in it's a rental stage. And that will fly 80,000 pounds worth of lights, maybe 90,000. Where at your facility right there, right now, if you do 22,000 pounds, it's going to be tough. Like at the Eagles Club, I had to fix the steel up to fly 60,000 pounds. So at the Eagles Club, I can do 60,000. That outdoor stuff, they use more outdoors than indoors, obviously. So they can fly 85, 90,000. So it's a tear down and put something brand new would be my opinion. Unless you go real small and just do 1,000-person little things and little local events, things that you probably do now at the side stage of the fair type of a thing.
What is the industry saying regarding the Live Nation Ticketmaster split up? I mean, is this something you think is going to happen? Are the timelines being anticipated?
Well, the majority of the major players in the industry are just doing everything they can to get the split happening. It's the federal government, and it just takes time. I think the appetite in Washington, from what I've understand, is that it's just that time. It's time to split it up. Never should have happened in the first place. It was political how they got it through because of the Obama administration and Ari Emanuel and entertainment people that put it together. The brother worked for Obama. I'll leave it at that. And it's all public knowledge. You can look it up. And so they were able to get it through at a time and not go not give it the scrutiny it should have had. Now it has the scrutiny that it should have had. But I have no idea if it's going to happen or not. I want it to happen. and I think it's important to the industry to have it happen. But it's really up to the government.
Okay.
I mean, the state of Wisconsin.
Any other questions, Brian? Okay. Are you all set? Okay.
Yeah, boy, that's it? Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess if I could just put a capper on it. First of all, thank you for coming out. We
Okay.
appreciate that.
Sorry for talking so long.
No, we're fascinated. I mean, honestly, I could listen to you, speak about the city because I have people in the industry, also down in Illinois that are, the loss of venue down there is just amazing. And, places that have been around for many years are gone.
Right.
And so I do understand at least that portion of it. And we look forward to trying to work out something for our stage. I mean, it is such a nice little stage in a nice area, and there's so much potential there. It may not be time yet, or maybe we can figure out, like you were saying, something a little smaller scale or something. I just feel like we're underutilizing a very nice gift that was given to us by West Bend Mutual Insurance. They donated that, and it was such a nice gift, and we really want to make the most of it we possibly can. So we'll look forward to working with you, and sending our delegation over to you and working that out. And once again, I thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate your time. I know it's not easy to call.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, appreciate it.
One more comment.
Oh,
Bill.
sure.
I've been to Ravinia many times, and that's a dream to achieve.
It's what?
It's a dream to achieve.
It is a dream. No, it's very beautiful.
Thank you very much, sir.
So with that, I encourage you to share any comments with Supervisor Ken McCulloch, the county executive, myself, or the chief of staff prior to Monday.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Response from UW Extension, Dean Carl Martin.
This is just an FYI for the committee. We had sent the letter to them. Josh did. We deliberated about that. The county executive did at the last meeting. This is the response that was received, and there is currently a scheduling request from the county executive to Dean Carl Martin to meet.
Okay, any questions on that for Ms. Ludwig? Okay, yeah, I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, Okay, well then we'll move on to the resolution. Grant application funding for Glacier Hills Lakefront Development. So this is an application, one of probably quite a few that we might see. So first of all, I'll take a motion and a second. Motion by Supervisor Conrad, second by Supervisor Mary. And Jamie, you want to just give us a quick...
Sure, I will. So we did take a look at this project on the tour when we were looking at sort of what this would be coming. So this is the resolution that would authorize the staff to apply for a variety of different grants utilizing the funding that was previously allocated by the board, $250,000 in the Parks Enterprise donation, as well as the endowment committee has verbally and at their last meeting made a motion to commit up to an additional $200,000 if needed to match in pursuit of what would be total project funding of roughly $1.2 million. So we have not refined that number any further because we have not authorized the next stage of sort of design work. We only went to a 30% concept plan to get budget numbers. Without having funding for the project secured, we wouldn't want to do that work. So this is sort of the next step. Some of these applications are due in the fall, and we can answer any. Logan Bliss, our Parks and Trails manager, is here as well, and we can answer any questions you have about this.
Okay, any questions for Jamie on this particular? Well, this is just the grant application, correct?
Correct. So the way that the county policy works is that because we don't have the grant in the authorized budget to accept funds anytime those project funds are over $50,000 that we'd be receiving, and then eventually spending, right? So we'd be taking in the money and then spending the project. We have to seek approval for accepting those funds. So this resolution would actually do both. It would actually authorize us to apply for grants within the Parks enterprise, assuming that no tax levy is used for this project, and then it would also amend the budget to expend and use the funds for that purpose. So it's a 2/3 vote.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Ludwig on this? All right. Well, so this would be authorization for the use of, or for the department to apply for this grant. And we do expect to see a few other possible grants coming down in this project.
Well, if you read the packet and you read the proposed resolution, it actually authorizes us in this one
multiple.
resolution
Oh,
to
for
apply for
multiple.
multiple different grants. So this project kind of hits a few different buckets. Stormwater infrastructure, recreational boating and swimming, lake access, and park development type areas. So we would be looking to work with likely a consultant to kind of work on how to maximize the applications and try to attempt to fully fund this project.
Yeah, okay, that makes actually more sense to me because I saw that, but I wasn't sure if we were doing this on an individual basis on the grants, but basically they're all going to be tied into this resolution.
Right. So some of them are less. So there might be, say, a $25,000 grant for fishing that we would be eligible for. Some are more. Some have higher match percentages than others. But this is basically saying as long as we have that match money available within that $450,000 collectively, we would be authorized to move forward with those applications.
Great. Okay, so seeing as we've exhausted our comments and questions, all signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, I'll consider the resolution passed. And that brings us to the end of business. Our next meeting date is Thursday, August 15th at 4:30 p.m. right here. Thank you very much. I did fail to mention we were short Tina Pridemore tonight. She's down volunteering at the RNC, so that's